they participate?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, that content management tool that I was talking about, they can use that for whatever it is they want. Just because we offer it to them doesn't mean they have to use it. So they can participate in the employment applications, the other pieces of it, the marketing aspects. Ross, did you want to add to that?
I just wanted to add, we did have an opportunity to discuss this at the Chamber luncheon today, just briefly to kind of get a quick feedback of what the businesses were thinking on this. And the feedback was very positive from a florist in town that thought it would be great. They could put up Mother's Day specials, prom specials, what have you, to a hardware store, to a HVAC contractor, to even doctor's offices said this would be great because a lot of people just are looking for where are the local doctors in town. They can offer, maybe they can't offer discounts on their services because of pricing and everything along that nature that it might be set or insurance rates or what have you, but they might be able to offer tote bags or whatever, just something. The options are endless to what the businesses can do.
You just raised a question in my mind when you said that. Can the people who participate do a link for the people that people can purchase online?
They can link to their own website. Now, if their own website has the e-commerce abilities, yes.
So the answer is yes. Can national companies participate? Like we do have AAR, which is on the New York Stock Exchange, and multi-billion-dollar company. Can they use it too?
Absolutely. Anybody of any size can use this.
Okay. I'd like to recognize Alderman Police.
Simple, real quick. The contract, I take it the attorney's already looked at it?
Yes, I have.
Because I'm looking at either party can terminate 60 days prior to a year, or it doesn't say for any.
It's to allow a 60 days notification prior to termination.
Yeah, but somewhere here it just said.
He's asking what is termination? Is it any time or is it just the end of the 3 years?
Yeah, I mean, it's for the remainder of the balance, so should you decide to terminate at the end of the first year, the remainder of the balance of the contract would be due.
Would you repeat? I didn't hear you. So the termination, answer the question. I'm trying to understand the answer too.
Yes.
Is the notice would be given 60 days before the termination of the lease, whether or not to continue. But this is not, you can't just cancel it 8 months into it and say, well, we're not making money on the deal, is it?
Right. Right. If you wait till the end of the contract, 60 days prior to the last date of the contract, the 3 years out, that's when we require notification if you decide not to move forward to renew the contract.
But you'd come forward with the renewal quote before that time, wouldn't you?
Oh, absolutely. But if you decide to quit prior to the 3 years, you would be obligated for the remaining balance of whatever time that would be left.
But my question is, I got a question on, if for some reason your website has a lot of glitches and whatnot, and the performance is terrible, you telling me we can't cancel because
No.
you're not
If you-
providing a service?
No, if you look into the contract, it's standard industry uptime and so what standard, like we're talking 90% plus. Okay, if by all means, if we are not delivering what it is that's in the contract, then you are not responsible for the remainder of the contract.
That's why I asked if the attorney looked at this because,
Yeah.
I'm just a regular guy. I'm reading this. I'm like,
Right.
well, it means I got to pay you no matter what, whether I don't.
No, if a service or if there's issues that supersede the contract or that don't fit into that box, by all means, you are no longer responsible to hold up your end of the contract.
Because
It becomes null and
I
void.
do like the program, and I think it's a nice service for the business.
Alderman Joe Coles is recognized.
Oh, no, let John go first.
Well, I just wanted to make one point again to sort of expand on this a little bit and correct me if I'm wrong. It's my understanding that there's a $3,000 startup charge to get the website up and going. And the $125 a month maintenance fee includes the first 100 businesses or 125 businesses.
Correct.
So for the $125 a month, we can have up to 125 businesses participate. In our initial discussions with some of the business owners at the chamber luncheon today, we threw out the idea that if you wanted to participate in this program, we could adjust your business license fees up $10 or $12 a year to help cover the city's costs of the monthly maintenance fee on the website. So, you know, again, we're looking at the $3,000 startup, the $125 a month maintenance fee, but at least the limited numbers of retailers that we talked to today would be willing to pay a little additional on their business license fee to help support the website. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
John, you just raised a question. You said on the business license. What about those businesses that are exempt from licensing because of state licensing? We've got a lot of beauty parlors in town.
Well, again, I think for a $10 or $12 a year fee to participate in this type of a program, I think people would probably pretty readily.
So they
Pay
can
that.
pay separately.
I don't see why they couldn't. No.
I'd like to recognize Robert Gross.
Thank
Gross?
you. Gross, yeah. And to add on to that, in other cities that are piloting this that don't even have or charge business licensing, they're actually just going back to the citizens and the business owners, the business owners is charging them about $12 for the year. So it's about $1 a month. In fact, some are actually doing it at $25 and making 100% profit on top of that to keep the consistency going from each year. So in case it gets more difficult, they have the funds already to the side to maintain the program moving forward.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to the recognition of Alderman Coles.
Oh, no, skip me.
I'd like to recognize Alderman Roy Wesley.
Okay. The $3,000 to start it up, where are you planning to get that?
We could take that from tourism, I believe.
Okay. What, you were talking about the coupons and stuff. The business would be able to contact you free of charge if they're having problems downloading their coupon into the,
Absolutely. In fact, like there will be 3 options given to the business owner or organization director. When they click on the question mark, the 3 options will be presented to them. The first one is to actually sign up for a live webinar where there'll be a live person going through the presentation, and that'll be going on multiple times in a month, so they can schedule for that. They can also watch an on-demand video of somebody already pre-recorded posting a coupon or removing a coupon or changing their address or whatever the issues may be. And then finally, they can contact us during business hours to get their issue resolved. But we will be taking on that responsibility
at no extra charge.
at no extra charge, yeah.
Okay. You have in here April 15th.
Yes.
I understand your deadline to finish by May. You don't have, is this like the yellow pages that you have a deadline that per year that you have to be done by April 15th? Or could we just change this contract to May 15th and then everything starts in June?
The pilot is April 15th. Yeah, okay, if you don't go through, the technology will be there, it's just it'll go to the live date pricing by then. We have, in order for us to orchestrate all of the pilots together at the same time, we have to set that deadline. So it's not an annual thing, because this is the first time it's actually coming out, but we had to set a hard and fast deadline.
Okay.
And so from there, the pricing changes considerably after that. So the technology will still be there, which we could revisit later on, but it'll be at a much more substantial cost.
One question.
Oh, it's $2.25 a month instead of the $1 a month per business. And then the implementation is about doubled, about $5,500 for the implementation. And it's an annual contract, so you don't get the 3-year locked-in term.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
One more question, if I could.
Roy Wesley is still recognized.
Ross, John mentioned about tacking on like $12 to the business license. If we did that to all the businesses in town, anyone could tack into this.
Correct.
Am I understanding this correctly?
Correct.
So by doing this, we're just, I think we owe this to the businesses. A lot of times that the government is taken away from businesses, and I think this is important that we could give back to businesses and help our sales tax. So I'm in favor of it.
Mr. Clicker, is this also for home-based businesses?
It could be. If they're a legally operating home-based business in Wooddale, yes, sure.
Okay, I'd like to recognize Alderman Nuncio, please.
Russ, the Chamber of Commerce, I know, has businesses that are outside of Wooddale. So those businesses outside, maybe they got a duct cleaning business or a furnace guy, whatever. Those guys would also be able to hook onto this website?
We are doing it, since the city is doing it, we are going to limit it to Wooddale businesses. If we have space available, or if the chamber wished to contribute to this, say that our number of businesses was gonna go over our 125, if they wish to contribute to it to allow other businesses in, then we could revisit that.
Well, see, my thing is, if we're gonna have businesses outside of town doing this, I think those businesses should be paying the fee. And I agree with Alderman Roy Wesley that our businesses, and I believe I talked with you and John about this last week, why should we be charging our businesses for this? I think we belong to the Northwest, or Woodfield Convention Center, and we pay a fee for that. Why would we charge our businesses a fee for this? This should be like a bonus instead of just giving them another slap on the wrist.
Ross Clicker, I mean, on this, if the object is to get sales tax in the city and promote businesses in Wooddale, why would we want to even give competition? Because then maybe they'll go to a beauty shop in Bensonville rather than Wooddale. If anything, I would limit it to unincorporated Wooddale, because that might be incorporated someday.
We are proposing it for Wooddale businesses, and I was just mentioning a scenario, if you wish to open it up, if the chamber wished to participate in this and there was no objection from the city council, that we could open it up to chamber members. But at this point, we are proposing this for Wooddale businesses only.
I would say Wooddale only because it defeats the purpose of getting sales tax. If a place in Addison has a better grocery store than in Wooddale, and they can have better produce prices, then people are going to go there, and we're not going to get any sales tax at all. So it's better to keep it just to Wooddale. But I'm thinking we have a large enclave of unincorporated area which we'd like to incorporate. So maybe we could allow those people who are who have a Wooddale address to participate, and maybe charge them an extra fee. But let me go back to recognition. Roy Wesley? I'm sorry, he's granting the floor to his brother Eugene Wesley.
Okay, let's go back here. How does this fall in the tourism fund? Someone legally better answer that question.
Well, I'm not an attorney, but if it brings in patrons from outside of the city of Wooddale that helps our local economy, I would take the liberal interpretation and say that it would qualify. And I think you need to be aware that despite what the state statute may say, the only time you're going to get dinged for something that may be deemed to be non-tourism is if someone wants to ding you for that kind of thing. There's no self-policing or any tourism police out there that monitors what we do. As a matter of fact, back 15, 20 years ago, we used to take some money from the tourism fund and transfer it into the capital improvements fund for road projects. And the justification was that the good condition of the roads leads to tourists coming into town, and therefore it's an appropriate use of the tourism dollars. And no one ever gave us a problem with that.
Let's do a follow-up with that. If you go over 110 people that could tap into this, what's the price of it? Could you take more than 110 with this system? And what's the price increase?
Yes, actually, we're working with cities that have businesses about 25,000 as far as number of businesses.
Okay.
So we can absolutely handle it. And the way, yeah, so for each additional 100 businesses that goes active, now again, I don't want to confuse active with, they'll all be listed as on the directory. So all that static information, so if somebody just wants to purely get in touch with this business, that'll already be available. What I mean by active is they're given that login and ID, they're going in and they're taking advantage of all the tools that are offered to them. So for each additional 100, so between 0 and 224 businesses, you're just paying the 125. When it hits the 225, then it goes up an additional $100 per month. And it adjusts accordingly. So it's always staying at a dollar a month per business. Yeah, I'm sorry, the 125. So, but for each additional 100 businesses, it goes up in increments of $100.
I'd like to ask you, you keep referring to this as shop QA, government QA, web QA. What's QA stand for?
Question answer. Web QA is the company. Gov QA, we have Gov QA, Biz QA, and Ed QA. So our business division, we have clients like JP Morgan Chase, US Bank. Our education division has a lot of higher education, schools, universities. It's just all underneath the umbrella of Web QA. Shop QA is just a product term, like CRM is Citizen Request Management Technology, so on and so forth. So, but it all operates underneath the Web QA umbrella.
I just want to know what QA, and you said it's question and
I'm sorry.
answers.
I apologize.
Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't realize I interrupted Eugene. He had the floor, and he had another question.
I have one other. How does our attorney get this already? I mean, I'm confused here now because you know what? My opinion, this is a fast track. We just got it. You want us to make a decision today. Now you're telling me our attorney already seen it. What's going on?
They've done an initial review of it to get familiar with it. If you direct us to go forward, we're going to sit down and do the final negotiations in the week here and get this hammered out.
I recognize Nuncio Police.
One quick question. First 125 are included, and then if we get 126, it's gonna cost us an extra $100 a month.
No,
Well, that's the way you just made it sound.
I know, that's what I was trying to state. So for the first 125, that businesses, it's $125, right? And then from when you hit 200, it'll be 224 businesses. You're still paying just the 125. When you hit 225, because that puts it at the extra 100, then it goes up to the price. You're actually getting less than $1 a business all the way up to 224.
So up to 224 is basically $125.
Yes, sir.
Is what you're telling me.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
because the way I was understanding it, it's 125 is the cost for the 125,
Yes, sir.
and then all of a sudden, we're gonna start paying extra 100 if we only have one extra business. Okay. I need to make sure that that's right by the attorney before we sign the contract.
Alderman Wesley, Roy Wesley is recognized.
On your contract here is April 15th. When does the businesses have to have their information in to you to be, or could they continue to go month to month?
Yes, sir. So it's, when you get the implementation coordinator, they're going to work with somebody within the city that'll be spearheading the project, and we'll be working with them to get the directory and everything moving from there. But again, it'll go in waves essentially. So we're not leaving you once it's been, that initial sheet has been uploaded into the system. They can always continue to add on, even, a year down the road.
All right. One more question, if I may.
I'd just like to clarify it and use some terminology. What he's describing is a term called open enrollment, 12-month open enrollment. Was your answer, is there 12-month open enrollment? Was it an unqualified yes?
Yes, and it's open enrollment for the full 3 years of the contract. So not just even the first annual.
Roy, I hope you don't mind me helping you phrase the question.
That's all right. Next Thursday is what they,
15th.
so the deadline is April 15th.
Just so I understand, the deadline for us to commit is April 15th, or to have the contract signed with you?
Because our council meeting's April 15th.
Right.
Strong, commit. So I understand that it falls on to that Thursday. I'll have to get back because I need to talk to my CEO and implementation coordinators because I don't want to speak out of school and say, yes, it's okay to have that extra day or two.
So
But
how
I
do
can check in, I can look into it and report back to Ross.
How do I make a motion to agree with this tonight? To go to committee?
Yeah.
To go to the council then?
Let's go to council.
Which is next Thursday night.
So
Okay,
would you like to make that decision?
yes, I'll make that decision. So the 16th, we can extend the deadline until the 16th.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Nuncio Police is recognized.
I just thought of something, well, if it starts April 16th, how long is it gonna take to get the website up and running? Because you're gonna be, from what if I'm understanding, there's gonna be a link, it's gonna have every business in Wooddale. They may not be active, but it might take you 3 months to list everything. For all I know, you have one person entering, I don't know how many pilot programs you're gonna be doing. So ours might not get done for 3 months, so we'll be paying for 3 months, we'll lose 3 months of the contract, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand your concern. Our implementation, we run at whatever pace the city can move at. I don't have one implementation specialist that's doing all this. I have a team of people that are running this and going full steam ahead. We get it up in about 3 weeks. So, but we're pretty much at the mercy of the city. So whatever pace you can go with us at, we will get you up because it's in my best interest to get you live as soon as possible. Because in my interest, I want to be able to say, look how Wooddale's using the system as I'm talking to other cities. So it is in my best interest to get you up as quickly and as efficiently as possible, as it is in your best interest to be up.
So in other words, that'll be in the contract, that within 3 weeks, you'll be up and running?
Yes, I'd love to
Or-
put it. I mean, if you want, I can add that. I'd love to put that in the contract because I have people in cities drag their feet all the time. So if you want to commit to 3 weeks, I will put that in there to 3 weeks.
Personally, I'd like to see it in a week, because
Even better.
we're losing a month.
I am on board with that, sir. Yes.
I'd like to ask you a question, Robert Gross, on behalf of Christine Winger. Can I ask you, can people who are not a business owner but are a salesperson, like Christine, who sells for an insurance company, can she list herself as an individual of a large corporation that's not in Wooddale because she lives in Wooddale?
That's up to your discretion. I mean, we have people using this outside of the box, and it is a pilot program, so there is a lot of flexibility that we can offer to this. But I know that there are cities that are listing properties, for instance, like foreclosures, or people that are having difficulties listing properties. We're creating a category for that, and you can search properties. We can literally design it. It's custom configurable software, so we can design it to do that and handle that if that's what you want. And again, no extra charge. So.
I'd like to recognize Dan Shawkey, Alderman Dan Shawkey first.
Couple of questions, if I may. I was just going to ask, before Alderman Lewitton mentioned it, does a business have to have a city business license to be part of this? I don't want another Craigslist or something like that, flea market going on the internet with the city. So is it part of the agreement that they would have to have a Wooddale business license?
That's something that can be entertained. Again, that's up to the city, to decide. So I'm not going to put that restriction onto it. If you ask me to, we can design it like that. If you want it to be left open to everybody, you can do that as well. So that's up to you. You have the control over that.
Dan, I'd like to, perhaps answer your question from my logical thinking. There are major businesses in the city that are exempt by state law from having a city license. And one of them is beauty parlors. And we have about a dozen beauty parlors in town. So to deny somebody because they don't have a city license, because the state says they are exempt, or somebody who works from their house or works out of an office of an affiliate shouldn't be denied because Christine didn't have an office in Wooddale. So that would be my thinking. And I'd like to recognize Christine Winger at this time.
Thank you. Just to add a little insight that like in my profession, that we always go back to where you're registered. So on my business card, I'm registered in Schaumburg, 1900 East Gulf Road. So that's really my place of business. And there's a phone number. It's all got to be where I sit. So in my opinion, I would not be allowed to go on the website. And I think that would apply to just about everybody, what business you have. And I imagine if a beauty shop is exempt, then it would be where your business actually sits, you know, if there's some kind of exemption. So I think that would probably clarify. It would probably like, it wouldn't even be compliant for me to go on the Wooddale website as my business. Thank you.
I'd like to recognize John Forrest.
All right. One thing I wanted to clarify, and again, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Robert, but it's my understanding that the city will have control over the content that each business wants to put on the website. So that, you know, will give us a little bit of control to be sure that, you know, nothing unseemly is going to be listed on a website that the city's website links them to. The other thought that I had while I'm sitting here is because this is such a tight timeline, my thought is that Ross and I, each one of us, can start at one end of the city and hit the major retail stores and some of the smaller stores over the next few days, present this program with them, see if they would be interested in participating, and by next Thursday we can come back to you with a little better indication of what the business is located in Wooddale proper, you know, their interest in participation in this type of a program.
Roy Wesley is recognized.
I think this program would be cheaper for businesses than pay-per-click. This is another way of Yellow Pages or your website or anything else. I don't know what pay-per-click is now. I think it's a click now or more. He wants to, I'm ready to go into.
Recognize Robert Gross.
I was just going to tack on to your excellent point. In fact, Dex knows, or the Yellow Pages, it's typically about $125 a month per business in order to use something like that, and it's half of what we're offering here. So it's something to consider. Also, as a fringe benefit, the city is getting a lot more traffic onto its homepage because you've got people that are searching for coupons for jobs, that are placing coupons, that are just shopping in general. Their eyes are going to that homepage. So you're getting a lot more traffic on the homepage for anything else you're trying to communicate to your citizens on a daily basis.
You're still recognized.
You hit that right on the nose, $125 a month. That's exactly what it is. In that case, I'd like to make a motion to go into a contract with Web AQ Services. With a contract.
With an
starting,
approval, with approval from the attorney.
With approval from the attorney, but the contract date changing to April 16th.
Second.
Let's have a roll call.
Question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. Okay, but you had your brother here who did. Eugene Wesley is recognized.
Question for you, John, you did raise a very valid point here. Just glancing over this contract, it doesn't say in there that we have the right for overseeing the material that's on that. It's not in this contract.
I don't think that has to be in the contract, that can be by ordinance.
No, wait a minute, I will not, my answer is right now, and I told you up front, it's a no answer, because you know what, there's too many ifs in this contract now that's rising. I can't believe we are even going to sit here and vote for something that we don't have a clear contract of issues that needs to be addressed. John brought up a valid point here. Legally, I'm sure we don't have the right as a city to tell you can't put on there because it ain't in our contract. We don't have the garble in here. So my opinion right now is until we come up with a contract that states that, far I'm concerned, we should not even be reacting to this because we don't have a contract that says that we have the right. So, again, until that's in this contract, because you're asking us to vote on this tonight with this contract in front of us, with our city's attorney, there's stuff that's got to be added in this contract. There's no way I could sit here and vote yes for it when that was a very valid point that John just made to us. we could be in a legal problem here if we do that. So,
The chair will recognize Ed Coles. I'm sorry, Joe Coles.
All right. I've been sitting here listening to everybody, and my theory is that we cannot have this contract until Pat Bond, who's our attorney, looks it over and gives us all the answers, because as far as I'm concerned, I will say no. And one of the reasons why is because we're not qualified to take this contract and read it, because we're not lawyers, and a lawyer knows more about contracts than we do. And I'm sitting here listening to everybody. And as far as I'm concerned, I say no, and that's till we see a contract that's okayed by Pat Bond. Even though he's looked at it and said to you, okay, I still want to see it. Okay?
Nuncio Police is recognized.
The way I understand it is the motion is to approve this upon attorney review with the certain language put in, certain stipulations that they get the website up and running. I would imagine we already have the business license list that we can hand to him on the 15th. Once we approve it, well, hand it to him on the 15th. We go into effect on the 16th, and in 3 weeks, we should see the website up and running, or 2 weeks. He says, if we give him the list, sounds like he can do it in a week.
Well, I would think due to to the limited time, and, it would be great if we had 2 months to think about this, but we don't. So the reality is we have to make a decision sometime within the next week. I think it's entirely plausible that we could have the city attorney look at this contract, maybe just get in touch directly with Robert and his staff. He's intimated to me that, adding that clause about the city having control over what goes on the website, it would not be an issue to add to the contract. So I guess my thought is, let's keep this, on track for next week's council meeting. In the meantime, we'll have the city attorney look at this contract. If there's things that need to be added or deleted, he can certainly do that. If those terms are unacceptable to WebQA, then we forget about it. If they can agree to the types of terms and conditions that Pat feels would protect the city and would make this work, in the meantime, Ross and I can spend some time on the street talking to the retail store owners and, again, try and get some better figures for you next Thursday as to how many businesses would definitely want to be involved in this. Then next Thursday, you can make a more informed decision.
The bottom line, we can vote yes tonight upon attorney review, and once Pat gives us his review, we can yea or nay.
I don't know why you couldn't approve conceptually going along with this contract pending an acceptable contract with, being agreed on.
I think the key word that you just mentioned is conceptual, that a vote for a yes vote is a vote to approve the conception, and we all know that things are passed in committee and the same 8 people turn them down at council meetings. So passing it tonight is not signing a contract. So we'd just be approving the conceptual ideas subject to Pat Bond's written approval. The floor recognizes Nuncio Police.
No,
I thought you had your hand up.
no,
No? Did you have your hand up?
I'm ready for,
We have the motion. Does there anybody else wish to speak? Would you reread the motion showing the word conceptualization in it? Eileen, I'm sorry. I recognize Eileen to speak.
Okay, Alderman Roy Wesley made a motion to go into a conceptual contract with WebQA Services upon approval from the city attorney, with the contract date changing to April 16th. Is that correct?
Roy?
Yes.
Joe, did you have a comment you wanted to say? I saw your hand up, I thought. Eugene Wesley is recognized.
I have one question. when will we get a copy of the contract in our packet then? If you're fast tracking this so fast now with our attorney, when will we get it?
Well, again, with your permission, with the council's permission or direction, we'll get a copy of this contract as a starting point at the minimum to the attorney tomorrow. You know, I would hope we could get something back to you by Tuesday.
Eileen, would you take a roll call, please?
Alderman Shockey,
No, not at this time.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Eugene Wesley, Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
No.
Alderman Roy Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lewitton.
Yes. The motion passes 4-3. Next item. Items to be considered at future meetings. A, the Lakota Group, the Thorndale Corridor Study. B, I had mentioned the lead abatement should be brought in, and I think John has already answered that. Does anybody else have anything for future meetings to be added to the list? Hearing none, I call for an adjournment. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? This meeting is adjourned. What? I have something for the next one I want to ask him. Yeah.
Kansas Administration Committee meeting of April 8, 2010. The minute taker, please reflect. Same members present. I declare quorum. Next item is I make a motion to approve minutes dated for the special meeting dated April 1, 2010. Is there a second?
Question?
There's a motion second on the question. Alderman Newton.
I'd like to make a change on page 11. We're quoting, there's a quote here, or there's a paraphrase from John Kramer, and I believe he was misparaphrased. Alderman Lewitton asked about the laboratory services line item and asked for reassurance that there will be no change in asbestos testing. Mr. Kramer confirmed this. Alderman Eugene Wesley asked if the testing is done at the same area each time. Mr. Kramer explained that the water testing team tests for, and here's the mistake, it says fibers per million, and that's incorrect. It is tested million fibers per liter, and I'm sure that John said that, and he just checked his own records. I'd like to call John to confirm that that's a misquote.
Correct. The unit of measure for asbestos in water is million fibers per liter. That is correct.
Then I accept the revision. Does the seconder accept the revision?
Yes.
Okay, will the minute taker please make the change? Okay, anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is the discussion and report and recommendation on the fiscal year 2010-2011 budget. And with that, Mr. Wilson, do you want to just, or Mr. Douthwaite, do you want to state what topics you want to do first and the format that you want to follow?
Yeah, I want to run you real quickly through where we are so far, and then finish up with the last departments, which would be, and this is off my March 26th memo, administration, clerk, CD, information technology, finance, legal, engineering, central services, tourism, general capital projects fund, which you've already talked about, commuter parking lot fund, sanitation fund, water sewer capital projects fund, which you've already talked about, and special service area fund. These combined don't even add up to either the Public Works Department or the Police Department, so I hope we can get through it fairly quickly. Just a recap of where we are so far. as of the end of March, when we made some proposed cuts in what we call our Plan B, we had a surplus, assuming the worst-case scenario of the income tax situation, of $62,000. Last week, you made additional cuts of $10,250 in Public Works Administration, $27,000 in streets, $16,300 in storm, $2,000 in vehicle maintenance, $22,881 in police, and at the time, it was $75,000 in Public Works trucks, and given your vote earlier tonight, you added a $45,000 truck back in, so we cut $30,000 out for additional cuts of $108,000. And as we stand tonight, if the worst-case scenario comes through, we've got a surplus next year of $171,000. Now, the other potential cuts in Plan B that I think you'll talk about tonight are on that second set of numbers, the total $74,000. If you accept all of those cuts, we have a potential ending surplus in 11 of $245,595. And if that worst-case income tax shortfall doesn't come through, or if we get a portion of that, if we get it all back, our surplus at the end of 2011, that surplus in 2011 alone was slightly over $1 million. So we have, in any case, a balanced budget. And with that, I'd like to turn to the tab that's marked Administration. And I'll go through this the same way that I did last week. Page 75 and page 76 and page 77 are the narrative and organizational chart. If you don't have any questions on that, page 78 is the target level, which is up a little over $1,000 from last year. Page 79 is not recommended. This is the lobbyist that the council put into the budget mid-year last year at a cost of $3,000 a month. Like I said, it wasn't in the budget because you added it mid-year. We are recommending that it not continue to be funded. And then on page 80 and 81 are the line items, and we can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, Alderman Police.
Wally, so does that mean you've already given the 3-month notice to the lobbyist?
No, it
Because
doesn't.
There's a 3-month notice that has to be given.
If we pass this on the end of April, we will give them notice in May, June, July. So actually, the $36,000 would be $27,000. Has no impact on the budget unless you want to put it back in because, well, it would. It'd have a $9,000 hit to the budget.
So, Mr. Douthwaite, do you need direction now to say end that contract, or how do you want to
Well,
address this item?
I mean, you can't, I suppose that the council as a group could give me direction to immediately cancel it, but given the fact it's April the 8th, we're saving maybe $1,500 by not waiting until May 1st.
I guess I'm not clear that this would be for the next fiscal year, the 09-10. No,
010, 011.
010-11.
Right.
So when do you need your, but already we're
put it in here.
6,000
Well, then
or
take it out.
9,000 into next year with them?
We have to give 90 days notice.
Okay, so when do you want that direction? So we're not like halfway through the year?
Well, I mean, if you pass the budget, and this is not included in it, May 1, we send them a letter saying, as of 90 days from now, we're terminating.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so I don't think there's any.
And we've
motion.
already made the payment for April, so I think May, June, July, it's really going to be a wash whether you do it tonight or you do it next week.
Right,
Or by
okay.
the end of the month.
Okay, Alderman Roy Wesley.
Could you give me A reason why you don't feel that was necessary?
I was trying to bring you a balanced budget, and we have not seen any tangible results of the lobbyist so far. Prior to engaging this lobbyist, we had a commitment of $250,000 from Representative Rebeletti and a commitment of $100,000 from Senator Pankow, both of which were tied to the Capitol bill, both of which will require bonds to be issued. And the Capitol bill is contingent right now, at least, upon video poker going through. And there's no indication that we might even see that money, but that was given to us and gotten for us, irrespective of this company's efforts. Now, he has told me, and I tend to agree with him, that oftentimes you can't just click on a switch and have money start to flow. It sometimes takes a while to get the levers of government going down in Springfield, and there may be some elapsed time between the time that you enter into an agreement with a lobbyist and the time you actually see some money coming in. And I agree with the concept, and I've dealt with lobbyists before in other cities, that it's not like switching an on-off switch. Having said that, however, it's $36,000 that at the time I was putting the budget together was relatively significant, because I was trying to bring you guys a budget that was in the black. And if we had put this in, that small black would have shifted to even smaller surplus. And I thought, given everything else that we've got out there, it's probably an expenditure that we can do without.
For this lobbyist, do you have a list of projects that he was supposed to be working on? Or, could anyone tell me?
He is working to shepherd through our annexation bill for Oak Meadows in 83, which, if we ever get that through, would allow us to annex that and perhaps install a red light camera.
Okay.
But I'm not necessarily sure that he's the key player in terms of getting that through, given the fact that we've already done our own contacts with our state rep and state senator, and they're aware of that. He's one of the many down there, many lobbyists down there, who are advocating in some fashion against Governor Quinn's budget that would slice income tax by 30%. He's probably done some work on the red light camera and the DuPage Water Commission, but frankly, I'm not sure that one lobbyist down there that we happen to employ is going to be the tipping point whether those things pass or fail. I mean, you were down with me 3-4 weeks ago, and you saw how chaotic that can be down there, and I'm not sure I can say that, but for this lobbyist, we wouldn't have a change in the DuPage Water Commission, and but for this lobbyist, we wouldn't get the annexation at Oak Meadows. I mean, it's very, very difficult to quantify what these guys do for us, and in a lot of cases, they're playing defense. They're advocating against a bill as opposed to advocating specifically for one particular bill.
I got one more thing.
Okay,
Re-
go ahead, Kurt, call for last, because then I want to hear all
Yes,
of
this is it. Wally, do we have, like Itasca, Bensonville, do they have lobbyists down there too that we might be doing on the same issues that they are, that we might be able to tack onto their lobbyists as a partnership?
I don't know if I don't think Itasca has a lobbyist.
Or Bensonville, or?
I don't know about Bensonville.
Maybe that's something that we should look into.
Yeah, and then the DuPage mayors and managers band together on certain issues. They have a lobbyist,
They've got a
right, that-
lobbyist down there full-time,
full-time, so it wouldn't hurt for us to communicate with that lobbyist, correct?
and we do it all the time.
But
Okay.
even with the county lobbyists and the Forest Preserve lobbyists, and, I mean, maybe if we all pitch in together,
Right,
bigger bang for our buck.
right, absolutely. Alderman Lewitton.
Manager Daltway, for the 3 months that he'll be on there with this cut, are you going to press any issue, try to get your money's worth for the 3 months, or is he just going to be a lame duck?
Oh, we'll try to press him. How much attention he'll give us, knowing that he's a lame duck, is problematical. I don't know.
But do explain to him that a budget cut today is not a withdrawal from the league. So are you going to push for Oak Meadows? Are you going to push for something else? What are you going to tell him to push and do his best on during those 3 months?
We're going to continue to push for Oak Meadows, and that's about the only bill that is unique to Wooddale. Everything else transcends city lines. DuPage DuPage Water Commission, red light camera legislation, the governor's budget, all of that transcends city lines. None of those are unique to us. DuPage mayors and managers are on top of all those as well. About the only one right now that we can push that's unique to Wooddale is that annexation at Oak Meadows and 83. And even that has an impact on Bensonville. They've agreed with our position and with the bill. That's the only one.
Well, based on what you've just said, I think we should withdraw for the time being, but with the caveat that we may be back as players in the future, so he should work as hard as he can for Oak Meadows at this time. Thank you.
Anyone else care to comment on the issue before we move on? Okay, please continue, Mr. Delphi.
Well, I'll answer any questions that you might have on the line items on page 80 and 81.
May I ask a
Any,
question?
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
So are you going to ask for a roll call on cutting the lobbyists out, or is everyone just in favor of cutting it out?
I wasn't gonna do any kind of roll call unless I hear some real, stance if they want to keep it.
Well, I'm not willing to cut the roll call lobbyists out, so make a note in the minutes that I am not willing to cut that lobbyist out.
Then I think we ought to have a vote on that
Okay.
to restore it.
Oh, so,
If there's a motion and second to restore that and
okay,
put the 36,000 in, I'd like a roll call on that so we've got direction.
okay.
I'll
what-
make the
what do you
motion
like
to
to-
put the lobbyists back in.
Okay, and is there a second on that?
A second.
So the motion is to restore the lobbyists, to put the lobbyists back in the budget for $36,000.
And may I follow up?
Sure.
The reason why I'm asking to be put back in, there are projects that he's working on, and unfortunate that the mayor is not here to, all the correspondence is pretty much coming to the mayor and I believe, I don't know if it's just coming to the mayor, but he is working on some projects that are ongoing, and I strongly suggest that we leave it on because some of these projects may be down the line here. So, I mean, that's the only reason why I want it back on.
Alderman Police on the question.
Well, one of the projects that when we first hired him was supposed to be 3 months, but then it ended up 6 months, and now it's gonna be almost a year, was that bypass or jug handle from Irving Park to Wooddale Road. I haven't seen or heard anything on that, so I'm out. That's all.
Okay, anything else on the question, Alderman Lewitton?
I think that the mayor and the manager of this city work together, and I don't think any of them have secrets from each other on what a lobbyist would do. We just heard from Manager Douthwaite what's going on, what our lobbyist is working on. I think anything else, anything that's an intimation, is unfounded, unless Mr. Douthwaite would like to make another statement.
I'm sorry, what's unfounded? I'm not clear.
Eugene Wesley's statement that there are secret things that are being worked on that other members of this council don't know anything about.
Okay. Alderman Roy Wesley?
Well,
You've been getting reports from this lobbyist?
We get a report once a month, and it is so generic
Yeah.
as to not even be specifically applicable to Wooddale. It's a generic report on what the legislature's doing. They're taking up the budget. They're in recess for 2 weeks. I was talking to Alderman Shockey down in Springfield, and he suggested that I start furnishing you with those reports, which I am now doing. But I'll tell you right now, they don't have anything to do with Woodvale in particular. It's just a generic monthly report.
I'd like to, we got a first, I'd like to rephrase my motion. Well,
Okay.
The motion was from Eugene, right?
Oh, yeah, Eugene, do you care to have a rephrase on the motion?
I'd like to table it until the mayor is here and to discuss it, to put it back in.
So I believe that you can make a motion to table it.
I'll second the motion, too.
And there's a second to table it. So that takes precedent, so I'm going to call that, all in favor?
Aye.
No,
No.
Any opposed? I vote no.
I have a question.
Okay, so will the minute taker please call the roll on the table before we do the questions? And then I'll entertain
The
the
question is on the
Okay, please ask.
lobbyist.
And Roy Wesley motion to table the discussion. And ask your question, Alderman Coles.
The lobbyist hasn't done anything, and he's collected the money. If we put it back in, secrets, we don't know what the secret is. He hasn't said anything specifically why he's took this money and what he's done. As far as I'm concerned, I'll say no again.
Okay, there's a motion and a second to table. I'm going to ask the minute taker to call the roll.
Alderman Shockey? Alderman Winger?
No.
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Police?
No.
Alderman Coles?
No.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Lewitton?
No.
Motion fails. Discussion continues. So, then, yeah, let's go back to,
There's a motion on the floor to put it back in the budget.
okay. So then I'm going to call the roll on putting it back in the budget. If the minute taker would call the roll.
Alderman Shockey?
No.
Alderman Winger?
No.
Alderman Eugene Wesley? Alderman Police?
No.
Alderman Coles?
No.
Alderman Roy Wesley?
Yes.